Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Beyond Breakfast. We are in the middle of learning about Hakarat HaTov, and we left off yesterday going through Vad Revi'i, where Rav Volbi tells us that the relationships that suffer the most from not having Hakarat HaTov are the people that we're closest to. That means that your spouse, your parents, are people that you do not have the proper Hakarat HaTov for. So this is number 5 he's saying today. He says, we establish the obligation of expressing gratitude based on the verse in the section of Abi Kurim. Pasuk says, and you will come to the Kohen, Baal Kohen, and you will say to him, what are you going to say to him? You're showing him level of Hakarat HaTov. Right? I want to show that you're not an ungrateful person for all the things. You're not an ungrateful person for all the things that God has done for you. So we find in another dimension in the Talmud, in Barachot, it says, Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, from the day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, no one gave thanks to him until Leah came and gave him thanks. How is that possible? This time I will thank Hashem. Only the first person to say thank you is Leah. No one said thank you before that. Abraham didn't say thank you. Abraham is doing chesed. So there's a difference between doing chesed and Hakarat HaTov. Hakarat HaTov it comes from a humility, a deep sense of appreciation, but more importantly, it has to do with observation. For example, the Midrash in this week's Parsha says that that in the same way that the only way the Torah could have been given is in the Midbar, right? And in the Midbar, it has to do with a place where there's complete complete letting go of the self, complete hefker of all gashmi things. So you could be in a situation where you could actually receive the ruchniut and so on and so forth, right? Now, the Chovet HaLevavot makes this fascinating point. He says, when God creates the world, the things that are most essential to you are free. Air and water. Although water today is no longer free, but it used to be free, right? Air and water. Back then, like Rabbi was saying, the water carrier was actually a very difficult job. No one wanted to do it. If you lived in places like in Tzfat, in mountainous, dry areas like in Yerushalayim, they would pay a guy to carry huge jugs of water up to the mountain, whatever it is. It was a brainless job, and they got paid very, very well for doing it. Water, air, free, abundance. Why? The things that require, the things that are most necessary, God makes abundance of it. It's everywhere, right? That's an observation that we don't even think about. God could have created a world. There was a movie that came out years ago. I don't remember what it's called. I saw it on the plane. It's called Time. It's with what's his name? He's a yeah, it's not a clock. So I forgot the name of the actor. He's famous.
Justin Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake. Thank you. Yes, Justin Timberlake. I was going to say he's a singer also, but Justin Timberlake's in this movie, and basically the movie is that you're born and everyone gets 30 years for free, and everyone is born with a clock on their arm, and you can see the time is running out every second. And poor people are always running everywhere because the second the clock stops, your heart stops. Everything is over. But the rich people are always walking slow. They're chill. They got a lot of time on their hands, literally time on their hands, right? So different world, different reality, different paradigm, okay? In that world where time is scarce, you appreciate every single minute. In a world where there's so much time and you're not really thinking about the time that you have because we believe we have infinite time. It's only when we get older we start worrying about time is running out, right? Hashem gives us everything that we need, but we don't appreciate it. And therefore, the point that I'm trying to make is that if we're not doing something to draw out that feeling of Hakarat HaTov, Hakarat is the awareness of the Tov, you're never going to see it. You'll be Kafoi Tov. You're never going to see it. The people of this generation, the reason why they're suffering so much is they don't know how to appreciate the things that they have. They're ungrateful for everything they have. We are born in the greatest time in history. Do you understand that? The greatest time in history we're born in. You have all the comfort in the world, all the luxury in the world. The Midrash says that in the same way that air is abundant and water is abundant, Hashem created a world where Torah is abundant. And you always have what you need. There has never been a time in history where there's been more access to Torah than any other time in history. You could watch.
Is that always true?
No question about it. The last time that I could point to in history where we could see that there was a tremendous growth of Torah institutions was that before the destruction of Bayit Sheni. I would even say Bayit Rishon, more than Bayit Sheni even. That was the last time he had this good. the institutions, the amount that's being produced, the level, the scholarship, it's so huge, it's so diverse, it's on so many levels. Hasidim, Safaradim, Mitnagdim, you have all these different groups all producing their own unique ideas, Chidushim. You didn't have that in the last 2,000 years. The last time we did something this big was during the time of the Gemara. There was nothing. It was just, you had people that were basically like Harambam was codifying the Gemara. Shulchan Aruch was codifying the Gemara. They're all codifying. Beit Yosef. The later Achronim were being mechadesh new things, new ideas in Kabbalah and so on and so forth. That's where you have all these new ideas coming from. But you live in a time where you have the Torah that you need. Right? Farhi did not exist in any generation before this one. He came to this generation because this is the generation that needs him. But if we're not in a situation where we could appreciate the fact that we have a Safra synagogue on 63rd Street, a beautiful building, right, where we have access to amazing people, amazing B'nai Torah, you're never going to have any, you're always going to think about all the things that are not there. Oh, I wish, it's better in Brooklyn, because in Brooklyn, it's this. It's better in there, because it's like that. It's nonsense. Leah is teaching us. By the way, we know that there are 3 crowns that were given to the Jewish people. Keter, Malchut. Keter, Kehuna. And Keter, Torah. Keter Malchut went to Aaron and his children's. Keter Malchut went to David and his children. That's through Yehuda, right? Yehuda is Malchut. What is Malchut? In the system of the Sfirot, you have Chesed, you have Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and at the end you have Malchut. What is Malchut? Malchut is the mastery of the domain. Malchut is when you become king over everything, right? The whole system. That's what Malchut is. That's what Yehuda was. And how do you get there? Hakarat Tov. That's why we know what we're called. We're not called B'nai Avraham. We're called Yehudim, from the word Hoda'ah. The core of our existence and our being is predicated on our ability to feel this concept of Hakarat Tov. Likewise, he says, Rashi explains, because she saw through Ruach HaKodesh that Yaakov was going to have 12 sons, and they had 4 wives. So when she gave birth to the 4th son, meaning if you have 4 times 3, you have 12, right? She had 4, she got more than she needed, and she's like, wow, Hashem gave me so much, I'm going to go ahead and thank him. Rashi also writes that, and she conceived again and bore a son. This time I will thank Hashem, therefore I called him Yehuda. Okay, this time I will thank because I received more than my portion, and from now on I'm obligated to give thanks. We're always, by the way, obligated because we're always getting more than we need. Hashem gave us everything. There's everything that we need to be successful. There's only our attitude. I can't control my environment. I can't control the circumstances. I can only control my response. That's all I have. And if you're a person whose response is, Hashem, thank you so much, it's all good, I have so much Hakarat Tov, that's where Hashem is able to go ahead and give you more and more shefa and more baracha. Behold, he says every kindness that a person receives, it is forbidden to be ungrateful. Even for the fruits that grow in the field each year, he must go up to Yerushalayim, bring Bikurim, first fruits, and recite the Bikurim passage. One who receives more than his fair share, it is not enough not to be ungrateful, he's obligated to give thanks. This is the law regarding the 4 categories of people who must offer thanks. Right? We say that the 4 people are those who go down to the sea, travel through the desert, who was ill and recovered, and one who was released from prison. Sailors. It is derived from the verse, those who go down to the sea, the works of Hashem. A stormy wind rose, lifting the waves. They reeled like drunkards and cried out to Hashem in their distress, and he brought them out of their troubles. The storm calmed, they rejoiced, they gave thanks to Hashem for his kindness and his wondrous man. Okay, fine. So you have that. So you have with the sailor, we understand, he feels the fact that he survived the stormy seas. He has a Hakarat Tov. Desert travelers, derived from the verse, and they wandered in the desert, and they on the desolate path, they didn't find the city and habitation, and they cried to Hashem out of their distress. They realized that something was missing. Hakarat Tov. Those in prison who were freed, those who sat in darkness in the shadow of death, shackled and suffering from iron, they cried out to Hashem in their distress. And it says, and they brought out to them from the darkness of the shadow, right? Let them give thanks to Hashem for his kindness. When the Beit HaMikdash stood, one was obligated to bring a thanksgiving offering, Korban Todah, for such salvation. We don't have the Korban Todah today. But in the old world, you brought the Korban. How awesome is a teaching from the Gemara that we see many people who were critically ill, who were saved by the word of Hashem. He sent his word to heal them. That they should have increased their praise and improved their ways. Yet often we see the opposite. After recovering from illness, people sometimes become even more rebellious. Why? Because when a person owes more thanks to Hashem, the Yetzer Hara infests, right, this man's mind, right, to harden and close a person's heart, right? How careful one must be with this. When a person has received more than he deserves from Hashem, he must take extra care not to be ungrateful, nor, God forbid, become worse, but rather to strengthen the service of Hashem. So, and who knows, maybe every single day a person is receiving far more than he deserves, whether health and family and other things. How much more so we should recognize, acknowledge the good. So let's take this moment in the spirit of our enthusiasm and pay special attention to the kindness we've been granted to, go beyond what we deserve, and may we offer thanks to our Creator, blessed be. Therefore, everything we do, we should do to feel this sense of Hakarat HaTov. And if we don't do it, God forbid, remember, the opposite is true. Why? Because the nature of a person, I'll take it in a second, the nature of a person, the second you feel indebted to someone, you don't like that person. If you feel obligated to me, it bothers you. The nature of a person is, I'm automatically become fight. I don't want to owe you anything. So the subconscious will create this ridiculous narrative where instead of feeling Hakarat HaTov, I don't like the guy. Which is why, by the way, Rav Wolbe's advice is make sure let them do something in return for you. You've got to go back and forth. Make sure, if I owe you, then create a situation where that person is owing you something. And therefore you kind of cancel out that feeling. Yeah.
How would you define that? I know the word, I know the general meaning, but what's the definition?
Of what?
Of
Hakarat HaTov?
Yeah.
Hakarat HaTov literally means hakara, an awareness of a recognition of the good. And kafui tov, the opposite, is ingratitude. Kafui means a rejection of the good. And we don't want that. So we're saying like this. We're ultimately saying, and we've been saying this already for the last, this is I think the 6th or 7th class we could have on this. We have I think 15 or 10. But the idea is very simple. If you're not working on your gratitude, you're going to live a life of ingratitude.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. That's the nature of the world. You see this in young kids today who feel like the whole entire world is owed to them. And nothing is good enough. These kids that are protesting on college campuses, it's because of kafui tov. By the way, kafui tov leads to kefira. It leads to heresy. It leads to complete rejection of God. Yeah, privilege. Same idea. Yeah. Anyway, B'ezrat Hashem, we will continue the conversation tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Shabbat tov.